Today, Special Agent David Harmon with the TBI requested and obtained an arrest warrant for Susan Smithberg, charging Miss Smithberg with child abuse and neglect in the aggravated form. On or about 3/26/14, which was Wednesday of last week, Miss Smithberg allegedly became upset with her 16-year-old for telling a lie about making some toast. As punishment for the lie, she required the child to perform 1,500 push-ups. The child did the push-ups for approximately 4 hours and was unable to continue. During the time the child was doing the push-ups, Ms. Smithberg is alleged to have placed both hands on the child's head, slapping with some force, and shook his head. Since the child was unable to complete the push-ups at that time, he was required to finish them on the next day. He also was denied food during that time, is the allegation in the warrant.
This led up to the disappearance of Christopher?
I would assume that this has something to do with his thoughts as to why he left the residence, yes.
So it sounds like the day he was to continue in this exercise is the day he went missing.
Yes. The investigation has shown that he was outside doing some chores during that morning, and the chores where he was performing that were partially completed but not fully completed, and that is the time that he left.
Is Christopher still facing runaway charges?
He was charged in a juvenile petition with runaway.
And those charges won't be dropped as a result of this arrest?
I'll let the district attorney answer that.
You know, what occurs in juvenile court is certainly confidential as far as we're concerned. Certainly as part of any investigation and going forward with any kind of criminal or delinquency charges, we take a look at all of the evidence and what the investigation has demonstrated. So we will carefully take a look at everything as any kind of action proceeds in the juvenile court.
Is he still incarcerated?
Unfortunately, I can't comment on that again because it's part of the juvenile court proceedings.
Are there any other history of, did he speak about any other things, abuse?
I can't get into the details of the investigation. We're still looking into that and interviewing some of the other siblings involved in the residence, and are trying to get those people interviewed.
When was she arrested, and is she still detained here?
She was arrested about 3 o'clock this afternoon and is currently still being processed in the booking division of our detention center.
Where
What
was she
about the
arrested?
I'm sorry.
Where was she arrested?
She was arrested here in the judicial center.
So she turned herself in?
No, she was arrested as she came to a hearing.
Okay.
A hearing for her son?
Juvenile court hearing, yes.
What about the other children? What's going to happen with them, or what's being done with the other children?
That will be left up to the juvenile court.
Did she know that she was going to be arrested when she showed up?
I assume she did not.
Can you talk about, did you know anything that he may have taken with him for when he left? I mean, we were hearing a little bit about some of the stuff that was found in terms of, maybe some materials, camping stuff, that kind of thing.
There was a bag, a book sack that contained some food items in it. It also had a poncho for rain cover, had some other articles of clothing in it, and also had some rubber boots that I remember seeing in it. And as you know from yesterday, also had a bow and arrow and a machete.
Did anything about this from the beginning not feel quite right?
Probably investigator instinct with everybody had some people questioning, yes.
Were you concerned at all that he was had been harmed by her, and that's why he was missing?
Let me state, the first thing we were concerned about is his safety. That was our main thrust for the 5 or 6 days we were out searching, is to make sure he was safe and get him back safely. So that was our whole concern at that time. Knowing what we knew during the investigative stage, as we were also looking for him, we wanted to make sure he was safe.
Was it once he was detained that he began to tell you about the abuse? Is that when you learned about the abuse? Once he was already picked up and detained?
We've gathered that information from witnesses involved in the case.
Where does that line get crossed?
Often, in many of these cases, in a general sense, it is a factual determination that ultimately comes down to a jury. In this case, the statute under which Ms. Smithberg was charged alleges that the behavior was either heinous, atrocious, or cruel. And I believe the warrant specifies specifically the cruelty involved. So it's a circumstance, certainly as the evidence develops and is presented, if it ultimately goes to a jury trial, to a jury, that the jury will be the one that makes that decision. However, I think based on the information that was gathered during the course of this investigation, the state is comfortable with the arrest warrant as it stands and going forward on those charges.